Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV. And hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the Mallorca Connection. Joining me from the beautiful island of Mallorca is my friend and co-host, Mr. Roland Friedl. Welcome.
Hi, Jacalyn. Dr. Jacalyn, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited with the graphic that we have with these boxing gloves. I took boxing a couple of summers. It's a really great workout, and I want to get back into it. It's inspired me.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, it's a good workout. It's it's energetically, it's about flexibility, speed, concentration, power, strength. So it combines a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's why I also use it for my business.
I know, and I want to hear more about it. So we've got a great guest today with some exciting topics, but I love the work that you're doing, Roland. And I know everybody can reach out to you on your website, rolandfriedl.com, which looks fantastic, by the way. Congratulations for your site.
Thank you. Actually, it was done by an amazing agency, and the owner, you know Sam, we had an interview about also a very interesting topic, how American companies can enter the German-speaking market with a good website. His team and especially Sam, he does a fantastic job, and I'm so happy we all on my website. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really well done. I'm going to spotlight you, and I'd love for you to share with our audience about the work that you do. You're very passionate. You put 100% of you into everything, and why boxing and sparring is important to you and in alignment with your branding.
It was about 12 years ago when I was looking for a new company name, and I said, okay, I was thinking about what I'm actually doing. I do coaching, I do training, I do consulting, I do advising, but when I combine everything together, staying with my client, helping them really, and challenging them, it's sparring. It's sparring like sparring in the boxing ring. Yeah, be ready for the fight, be ready for the market, be ready for reality. So I see myself as a sparring partner for my clients, if it's organization and the leaders in a business context, but also the private context, in a private coaching context, challenging them, helping them, making them fit for the market. And that's why I use this boxing clothes just as a symbol. But when you ask me what really drives me is not only to help them, but for me, it's very, very important that especially when I work with organization managers and people, is when they come back home from their job in the evenings, on the weekends, that they really have a purposeful, fulfilled life. What I mean by that, there's so many people are really working. They're exhausted, most of them kind of burnout. And when they come home, they don't have energy. They don't have time, they don't have energy to be really present for the beloved ones. And I'm really driven to that, to support these people to have a purposeful, meaningful job, give them a meaning, give them a purpose, getting energized. I know sometimes, we have better days and worse days, but really being energized, being purposeful, coming home to beloved ones, and being fully present and spending the time and spending quality time with your beloved ones, because when you're working, you're not there. They miss you. So coming home energized, and not just sitting in front of Netflix and having some junk food or whatever it is, or any other addiction. So I know so many managers who do an amazing job in business, but they fail totally at home. They're so exhausted. They drink, they take alcohol, an addiction, eat too much food or whatever it is, but not present at all because they feel so empty. And I'm really driven to help these persons, not only, as I said, to do a good job, but also being present at home. So having a good life balance. And as you remember, when we did the show last year in December, talking about the happiness circle, that's exactly what drives me.
I love this work that you're doing because it happens with women too. I find it myself. I'm not even breathing deeply most of the time during the day. You're just going from one thing to the next, one thing to the next, and you're taking everything and just kind of shoving it down inside, like, oh, I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that later. And eventually it catches up to you.
Absolutely. So sometimes we are so driven, we are so busy that we forget to live.
Well, we're living now, and I'm really excited about your friend and our guest. Can you give our audience an introduction for Marc?
Sure, I'm very excited to get him on the show too, because he's talking about a very interesting topic. Actually, I'm not quite sure, but I guess I met Marc about 10 years ago when I did training for a Canadian company called OpenText. I did sales training, strategic content training, sales management training, and I met Marc there. He was one of the delegates in these trainings, and since then we have always been in contact, because I don't know how he felt, but I thought this is a really nice person. This is a person that is not only driven in business, but he has a huge heart. He's always looking for a purpose. He's always looking for meaningful stuff. And then he changed to another company, Dropbox, and then twice. And what really drove me was last May. I was driving my RV for 4 months in Europe. And in May, I had the chance to visit him and his family in North Germany. We had a nice day together, barbecue in his house, in his garden. And what really drives me when I meet people in person, in their private life, and I see, hey, they're not having a mask, they're a person in business, they're a person in the private life, and this matches totally. It's not different, This person is real, and that's why I appreciate absolutely Marc's friendship. And now he does an amazing new job with a new company with an amazing topic, and so I was very, very excited to bring him on the show.
Let's welcome Marc to the program. Hi, Marc.
Hello. Hi, Dr.
Marc.
Jacalyn. Hi, Roland. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks, Marc, for your time to come to the show.
Sure, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Marc, I should say these topics that you're going to be discussing today are so pertinent with everything that's going on with the world, with whether you believe in climate change or you don't believe in climate change, whether you believe in electric vehicles or you don't. We're going forward, and you're at the cutting edge of that. So I'm going to spotlight you. Can you please tell our audience, what is it that you do, and what is the value of what you're doing that you're bringing to the world?
Sure, absolutely. And thanks for that. So I am currently working for TWAICE, and TWAICE is a company that's doing battery analytics. So what does that mean? It's like battery analytics. Well, if you just look in the world, basically, you will see that a life without batteries is really not possible anymore. So we see that in so many different areas, looking at battery-driven cars, like electric vehicles there in the car industry. We see that on scooters. We see that on two-wheelers. We see that in energy storages that you nowadays see everywhere. And all of them have lithium-ion batteries. So if you look back a couple of years, like in 2011, you probably know Marc Andreessen, who talked about the different businesses that transferred from being physical to online, just like an Amazon for book retailers, and with even more impact, like Netflix for the video industry or Spotify. And the article that he was talking about, he called it "Software is Eating the World." And what we see at TWAICE is that now, like 11 years later, we not only see how right he was, but also that this trend moves more into more and more businesses, and one of them being batteries. So if you look at it, of course, batteries themselves will not become virtual anytime soon, but with the software around them, their value will dramatically increase. Because without software, you can't really control a battery. You can't select a battery. You can't see whether a battery is working really well, and you can't influence things that you probably need to without the software around it. And that is basically what we are doing at TWAICE. We have a battery analytics platform with a couple of different solutions that we build on top of that help the automotive industry as well as the energy and utilities industry to really do pretty much everything around their batteries, the batteries that they are using, the batteries that they have right now, and managing them from a software perspective.
Okay.
It's really fascinating. I just want to share, I didn't even know that there was software related to batteries. That just goes to show you how clueless I am. Maybe some other people have the same, or not as knowledgeable as well.
Absolutely. Mark, I guess what more and more popular becomes is electric mobility. That's more and more, you said scooter, but also cars. We see them more and more on the roads. I guess when I see electric cars, some really have a cool design, some have a less cool design, but that's not the point. What do people really care about when they buy an electric vehicle? What do you think is the most thing people care, and the industry can learn from that?
I think there are a couple of things that people are really looking at. Just coming back to the design though, Roland, because I think that's a super interesting topic. And I recently talked to a manager from Volkswagen, actually, who talked to me about exactly that topic. Is like, when electric vehicles started initially, what all of the car companies basically did is they ripped out the combustion engine and put in batteries, right? That was like the transformation into EVs was born. And now his idea was, and I really, really liked that idea and thought, is like, well, actually, we can completely rethink how we build and model cars.
Yeah.
Because they are so different from the needs that you have. It's like you don't need an engine anymore, right? You don't need that. It's gone. So what do you do with the front of your car? You can do something different with that. You can design cars completely different, which kind of, I think, is a super interesting topic that not a lot of companies have addressed yet. But coming back to your question, what do people really care about? I think it's three main things. So the first thing is definitely range. Like, range is the most competitive factor if you look at combustion engine versus EVs. This is what people really care about. They want to know if, when they are going on vacation, can I go from place A to place B without charging my car? That's super important. The second thing is obviously cost. So not only how much does the car itself cost, but also, like, what does it cost me to fill it? Like, what's the energy price that I need to look at? And the third thing, and this is something that's often overlooked, is actually the value after use. So if you think about it, if you look at the price for an EV car, roughly 50% of that is the price for the battery alone. And that is, if you look at all of the cars out there, this is like a super heavy influence, obviously, then on the resale value that you can get. So the one thing that everybody wants to know, and what is interesting here, is if I own an EV and I want to sell it, what I really want to know is, how good is the battery still? So how did I treat the battery? And right now, not a lot of companies can actually tell you that. And this is where a company like TWAICE comes in to really look at that, to analyze the battery, and to give you the resale value. So I think it's those three things mainly that really influence what people care about when thinking about an EV.
Okay, so this brings me to the next question. What can the owner or a driver, let's say a driver, that mustn't be the owner, what can it be a driver of an e-car keep in mind so the battery health is really lasting a long time? Are there things that is in control of a driver?
Now, that actually is a really, really good question. So there are a couple of things that you as the manufacturer of the car can influence. For example, you can select the best battery for your car, right? That's easy. You can look at the thermal management. Is that good? You can look at the size and style. So those are all factors that you as a manufacturer can influence. From a driver's perspective, there are a lot of things that you can influence, but you have to know how to influence them, and that you can influence them. So looking at temperature, for example, heat and cold. So, and it's as easy as the sun is shining, it's super hot outside. Do you park the car in the garage or in front of the garage? So with a combustion engine car, it doesn't make a difference other than it's really hot when you get inside the car. For a battery, it's a huge difference because the battery will heat up anyways. Same is true for cold. Like when it's super cold outside, what do you do with the car actually? And then the main things that influence the battery life here, that where you as a driver have an impact, is how you drive and how you charge the battery. And with how you drive, I mean, are you one of those sportive drivers? Like, do you really like to go super fast, which leads to a very fast discharge of the battery, actually? Or are you more like a conservative driver and you like to go like slow, take the roads? Like Dr. Jacalyn, I don't know if you know, but in Germany is one of the, I think it's the only country in the world where there's no speed limit on autobahns, like on our. So we can really go fast here in Germany. We just had this incident actually last week where a billionaire drove his car on a German autobahn with 417 kilometers per hour.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was not on a racetrack, right? So that was a standard thing. So obviously, yes, you can influence that. And charging, last but not least, charging is the one thing, right? So do you always go to those fast charging stations, those super fast charging stations? Or are you okay with just slowly charging it overnight? Those are the things that really do have an influence. The thing is, you have to know that as a driver. And right now, nobody really tells you about that.
Okay. So
Marc,
sorry.
Go ahead. I just was going to ask a follow-up question. If I'm a battery manufacturer and obviously I want to have a sustainable business and I want repeat customers, do I design batteries that are rechargeable, or that you can only get endlessly rechargeable, or you can only get so many charges and then you have to come back to me and get another one?
Now that again is a really good question. And I would say you would probably want customers to use your battery as long as possible. One thing that you got to know though is that if you look at cars, for example, batteries for cars. So first of all, usually car manufacturers design them themselves. It's not like they buy from companies. Some of them do, some of them don't. A lot of them really design their own batteries and then just search for a manufacturer that will build it. And if you have an EV, the one measurement that you like really look at as a manufacturer is the state of health of a battery. So the state of health is the important metric that you watch, and it actually shows you like it really looks at the status, the current status of the battery. What's the battery health at a certain point in time? What you got to know is that for EVs, from a warranty perspective, you already have to exchange the battery when the state of health is at 80%. So not 18, but 80. Because that's the warranty condition that like 99% of all EV manufacturers have. So if you think about the battery manufacturer that delivers the battery, they better make sure that it lasts for quite a long time and that you really build the right battery for the right use case.
Great answer. Thank you very much. We do have a couple of comments.
Mm-hmm.
Zia, hi. Thanks for watching. This is amazing and informative. And David Chris is back. Hi, David. Thanks for watching.
Marc, I just want to summarize what you said before. So, because I love driving, I moved to an island 14 years ago. I slowed down, but I loved Austrian. Actually, the Austrians too, but they didn't care about the authorities in America. And German highways, I really loved them. And Jacalyn, I had a very good friend from the US came over to me, and I was driving a super sports car. and I was 160 miles going per hour, and he was really like, still not used it. But this, I guess it was a Czech millionaire. He had 260 miles per hour. It was really crazy. Anyway,
Yeah.
Okay. So just to understand you, Mark, so meaning kick down, so going fast, going on speed, is bad for the batteries, and fast charging is also bad. This is true. Slower charging is better.
Yes. So let me put it that way. Slower charging is better for the battery life. The influence,
Yeah.
you will only see the influence over time, though, right? So if
Okay.
you go to a quick charging station like once a week or every 2 weeks, well, yeah, it has an impact, but it's like marginal. But if you do that all the time, it has an impact. So the impact actually is the charging, whether you charge fast or slow, and also how far down you go with the state of charge of the battery. Because, it's like you have 100% means the car is fully charged, and you can go as low as 0%. If you look at modern software-driven battery systems, they will always make sure that you have a state of charge between 20 to 80%. Because everything below 20, again, is bad for the battery. Everything above 80, not that bad, but it's like if you're between 20 and 80, that's the optimum for the battery. And this is, by the way, not only true for cars. If you have an iPhone, for example, you will see that today. Because, and I just found out recently when I plugged it in, like during the day, which I normally don't do because I charge my iPhone overnight. I just charged it and it said, well, I'm not charging. I said, well, what's wrong here? And it says, well, actually, this is a battery management system. It's taking care that you get the most out of the battery. And this is the impact it has on the state of health. So exactly the same, whether you have a battery in your iPhone or you have a battery in your EV, or whether you have that battery in an energy storage. It's the same thing, and it's always true for everything.
Okay. When we talk about batteries, Mark, what I want to know is because I assume that most people who spend money on electric cars, it's not only the design and it's cool. I guess you do it because for saving the environment, for a green aspect. So what's happening with an EV when for example, you go for leasing, the contract ended, when you give it back? Because sometimes I say news, I don't know if it's fake news or not. I saw a picture in, I guess it was Germany or France, hundreds of electric cars by the post office came back. What's happening to these cars? What's happening to the batteries?
Yeah, so that was a question that also a lot of the EV manufacturers had initially, because as I said, like in the beginning, they just ripped out the combustion engine and put in batteries. And what happened then is that people actually bought those cars because they really like EVs. And now what we're seeing in the market is that those EVs have to be taken back, like especially the initial vehicles that were for testing purposes, for example. And as I said, with a state of health of the battery of 80%, they will go back, and you need to do something with the battery. So first thing that you need to do is you can decide as a manufacturer what you're going to do with the battery. And you actually have three choices again. So first choice is, and you have to know the status of the battery to decide that. So first option is the battery is good enough to go into a reuse, something that we call second life for the battery. So you take the battery out of the car and, for example, use it in an energy storage. So that's the first option. The second option is it's so bad from a state of health that you can't do anything with it and you need to recycle it. And the third option is, well, it's actually that good that you could just keep it and give another warranty on the car, for example, so that you can still drive with the car. What I'm actually super interested in, and what one of my topics is the first option. It's the reuse or second life option, because we're seeing so many super cool use cases with that like open up completely new business models for car manufacturers, because now they not only sell cars, but they can also get in the business with second life batteries, which is an interesting topic.
Absolutely. When you mentioned this, Mark, about your second life, what came to me immediately, because I live on an island with a lot of sun, and I will move, so I want to find a different home on the island, and I want to be totally autark with solar panels. So maybe it's a good option to buy used car batteries to use it as a storage for the solar panel.
Well, yes and no. Yes, don't build it yourself.
Of course, no. Of course.
It's not as easy as like ripping it out of the car and then attaching it to your telephone. You can try, but nah, probably not. But this is exactly one of the use cases that we're seeing here. So that is like the on the lower end, the lower scale in terms of battery usage. But that is definitely one of the use cases here, because it's like of course it's still good enough for like as a storage, as an energy storage for your solar panels. But you can also think in much larger terms. Like think about solar farms, for example. They also need storages. Think about wind parks where you have windmills and you just have so much wind, especially here in northern Germany, that's the case quite often, that you can't feed all of the energy that comes in through those windmills into the network, which means you have to store the energy somewhere. And that's where you need those huge storages. And one of our customers is a German automotive OEM. They are actually doing exactly that. So they started with us initially in designing the battery and finding the best battery for their use case. And now that they are getting the batteries back, like the second life batteries from their initial cars, they have so many that they decided to build energy storages, like huge energy storages, and rent them out to utilities companies. So the utilities companies, for different use cases, actually, they would take those energy storages from the car manufacturer and use it for their purposes. So it's nearly a circular economy thing that we have here when you look at batteries.
Do you have already any experience or any data how long you can live the second life, you go for a third life or whatever? I guess it's not an endless process.
So the direct answer to that, Roland, is no, we don't, because we are not there yet.
Yeah,
we haven't reached the end of life for those storages yet, because this whole topic is still new. Although for us, it seems like it's been there forever. Like electric cars have been there forever. Nah, not really, especially not at scale. So yes, there were single cars, but as you can see right now, if you look at Tesla, for example, they're only really scaling their business during the last 5 years, I would say, in terms of really scaling it. If you look at the German automotive OEMs, they are only scaling it since the last 5 years. And now all of them took the decision to completely move to EV in 2030 or even earlier than that. Right? So it's a huge transition that we're seeing in the market. And of course, that has a great impact on the use of lithium-ion batteries, and also on the software that you need to control it and to look at the state of the batteries.
Mark, when we look at the future of EVs, and this might be way out there, but I know somebody is working on it. How do you see EVs evolving from being on the ground as cars to flying vehicles, and what impact will that have on the batteries?
So the answer to that is it's already there. It's in prototype stage. We do have a startup in Germany that is called Lilium. They are, I'm not sure if they already have the first, they call it flying taxis, because it's not really for a personal single use. So I think this is something that will change from a usage perspective. Is a lot of people really love owning cars. So really own it, not like rent it for a certain period of time, but really own it. This is already in the process of changing. If you look at the younger generation, especially at Generation Z, and I do have a lot of those people in my company, they're not really interested in owning cars anymore. They really like renting it for when they need it. So it's all about mobility. It's not about ownership. It's about mobility in that case. And I see the same effect coming for flying cars or flying taxis or whatever you call it. 100% of all the prototypes that are out there, as far as I know, are operated by a battery and not by a combustion engine. because it's just not sustainable if you do that. And I think looking at the future, I mean, predicting the future is obviously always hard, but I definitely can see that coming. It's not that far away. My expectation is that we're going to see that to happen in the next 3 to 7 years.
That's soon. Wow.
Okay. Mark, can you tell us a little bit about, when we talk about batteries, I assume the German-speaking market, 100 million people, it's a small part, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, everyone is driving an EV. So where does all electricity coming, or do you already know something, and can you talk about what's happening in the future about self-charging cars, so we don't have to plug in about that, because it is an issue to get the energy.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it will stay an issue. What you have right now, so the only option that you have right now is recuperation. So you will have recuperation, or you already have that in every EV, also in hybrid models, by the way, means, and recuperation in that aspect means if you hit the brakes, it will recharge the battery, but only to a very small amount. So I don't see that coming in the very near future. What I am seeing, though, and where I have seen prototypes as well, is that you have charging parking lots. So I'm not talking about plugging it in, but really have over-the-air charging. Sounds very futuristic, but it's already there. So you just put you just park your car on a parking lot, and when you come back, it's already recharged without you plugging it in somewhere. And the same is also as in a prototype stage for highways, so that you have parts of the highway that would act as inductive charging stations. So you recharge your car while you drive.
Okay, but the energy is still coming from a power plant. Doesn't matter if it's wind-driven or solar-driven or coal-driven. It's still coming from a power plant.
It has to. I have seen a couple of prototypes with a solar, so EVs with a solar roof, which would generate energy. But of course, you have to live in the right area for that to work. Yeah. I think so. This is actually the second change that we're seeing. So one of the changes is, of course, moving into EV cars and more sustainable way of mobility. And you are absolutely right, Roland. We need to find ways to generate the electricity. And this is why we're seeing more and more renewable energy in the field, in pretty much everywhere. I know that there are a couple of countries that don't care about that, but what we are really seeing is that in most of the countries, this is a huge thing. To give you, again, one example from Germany is that I think starting next year already, in a couple of the larger cities, in the million people cities, if you build a new house, you have to put a solar panel on the roof. We eventually will also make that true for like the whole of Germany, for either for commercial homes or even for private homes at one point, where you really have to put renewable energy like a solar panel onto the roof in order to even be able to build a house. So we're definitely moving in that direction. And I personally see this as a great step into the right direction in terms of climate change and really looking at like stopping that or bringing that to a halt.
Absolutely.
Fascinating information. Thank you, Mark. I want to make sure that we also let our audience know about an exciting opportunity for them to join your team. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity, because I am currently recruiting. I am hiring a technical solution engineer. So that person will be in my team. And what I'm personally doing is I'm in pre-sales. So technical pre-sales phase, we are consulting our prospects, not the customers, but before that stage, and make sure that there are no technical boundaries that they would experience when using our software before they actually buy it. And I'm searching for a technical solution engineer in the US, because we're seeing a steep incline in questions that we're getting from the US, from energy companies, large energy companies as well as automotive OEMs. Maybe we can even, as you can see the job ID here, and the link to the job is actually right here. Our homepage is TWAICE.com for everybody listening, and just go there and find this job. The one thing that is super important here is I'm looking for a combination of sales skills or somebody who would love to take on a more salesy role, and at the same time have knowledge about batteries. So having an engineering degree in mechanical engineering, for example, or anything that has to do with batteries is a definitive plus. And I'm super happy if you could just reach out to me or apply online.
Thanks so much, Marc. Well, I have you on Spotlight. What type of jobs could people be coming from to this? So you mentioned you want them to have battery experience, but can you give like automotive industry?
So actually, this is everybody that acquired some knowledge at universities around batteries is a very sought after person right now, because there are a lot of jobs in this area. So the jobs are, for example, in the automotive industry, in the energy space. So people or companies that build or operate energy storages. But we're also seeing that in the software only companies like TWAICE. We are also seeing that in companies that actually build battery management systems for cars. So like the tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers of automotive companies, they are also active in this area. So a lot of companies that work around that, but also in a lot of other places. So wherever you are in a company that builds or sells a product that has a battery, you're welcome to look at the job description.
Thank you, Marc. So guys and ladies from the US, when you're interested for working for a very cool startup with cool young people in an industry that is growing and will change the world, when you love to do that, so please contact Marc. And if the sales skills are missing, I will help you out.
Who could have guessed that, Roland?
That's so classic. I love it. So for people listening on Business Talk Radio, the link is https://twice TWAICE.com. So you can go there, and then the job ID is 567483. Thank you for sharing that.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Marc. Marc, I have a question about when we talk about battery, and in the beginning, what was not clear for me, but you mentioned software and batteries. So can you tell a little bit about how can software accelerate the transition to e-mobility, and especially to green energy?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're seeing is I already talked a little bit about all the challenges that companies have in building and selecting the right battery and looking at second life use cases and all of that. And I think that all of that, especially the selection process, the initial selection process, is only possible if you have the right software. What we're seeing with companies that really want to build something, either an EV or a scooter, and that has to be a battery, you have to find the experts that are able to help you with that if you don't employ them on your own. So, of course, there are battery experts in automotive OEMs, but their number is limited. Their capacity is limited. So you need to find a different way, for example, of measuring batteries, of building the initial model, like the digital twin, if you will, to be able to not fully test batteries in terms of aging, how long will it take under different conditions, but really build a model where you can do all the testing in a virtual world. And this is what we're doing. And this is why we can accelerate the transition to e-mobility by making it faster, by minimizing the time that you need to really select the right battery. So one of the examples, again, maybe another example for that is a scooter supplier that came to us and said, well, we're building scooters. We know how to do that. We did that for years now. The one thing is we don't have any battery knowledge and we don't want to acquire that. We don't need that. It's like we are building this one type of scooter and we just need to select the right battery. What do we need to do? And those are the companies that come to us and where we can easily help. And they tell us how those are the 3 batteries that we're looking at from 3 different vendors. Can you help us in like comparing them? And yes, we can do that. We can do that really, really fast. The usual time, if you do that with normal measurements, would be about roughly 12 to 15 months. And we can build this digital twin with really, really great results and a high accuracy in 3 to 4 months, which means the road to business is really so much shorter. So this is one of the pieces here. And the same is actually true for green energy. And this is also one of the things that I really loved about my job is, as you know, I don't have a battery background. So I do have a software background. I know a thing or two about operating software in the cloud, but I don't have a battery background. But as soon as you start thinking about the use cases, as soon as you start thinking about what could be better by using batteries, you get to those use cases and then you see them actually implemented in the real world. Like the use case I talked about, taking the batteries from EVs, putting them into storages and keeping them in use, which is super sustainable. This is absolutely fantastic. And that really gives my job a purpose. That's what I really, really like about my job and the company.
Mark, when you say you love your job, because I know a little bit of our background, we met 2 companies before. And you're also looking for somebody from the US coming to your company. And I guess you're an expert of them because you know both sides. So you work for both your startups and also for well-established traditional companies. And so for young people, where do you see the main difference or what I mean, the main advantage? Because I know that you are much happier right now than you have been in the past for other companies.
You know, that's interesting. And of course, all companies are different, especially also the established companies. What you can definitely see, and I used to work for both American and German startups, right? And what you can see if you compare that to traditional companies, like I used to work in retail. So for a retail company in their software, in their IT department. And if you compare that, it's like the level of, I would say, conservatism, of hierarchies, of processes is a lot higher in those traditional companies. They do have a lot of positive things as well, right? Don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other. And you always have to look at it from your very personal perspective and what you want to get out of the job. There are a lot of people out there that love a structured day-to-day 9-to-5 job. I don't. That's why I work for a startup, right? So in a startup company, things happen every day. Things don't always go right. You will make mistakes, lots of mistakes. That's one of the differences, perhaps. Like in those traditional companies, everybody was afraid to make mistakes because you will not get punished. But it's like, yeah, well, that's the guy who did this crazy mistake, you know. And now when you take that back to startup companies, the attitude there is, if you don't make mistakes, you're in the wrong company. Like we need you to do mistakes so that we can learn from that and that we can get better. So that's the difference that I'm seeing, especially between those well-established old companies and the new kind of startup companies. And as a startup company, by the way, it's not like the companies that are a startup now. It's like that only established, like TWAICE is only 3.5 years old. That's also true for the older kind of startups. Like I used to work for Dropbox. It's still a startup, although it's already 12 years, I think, 12, 13 years old. But it's still, it's a matter of spirit, not of the time that you're in business. And this spirit is what really fascinates me and what made me then also move to TWAICE.
Mark, can you also tell us a little bit, the audience, and maybe the person who want to go for the job in the US, what is the average age of the people working for TWAICE? I mean, you told me, but can you tell the audience?
Yeah, so we're working on that. We're working on diversity here, and just the other way around. So, I to be honest, I don't know the average age. but I think right now, as of today, we have 4 people that are older than 40, including me. And we now have 99 employees. So we're still waiting for number 100. Maybe that can be you, by the way. So not you, Roland or Dr. Jacalyn, but you that are listening or watching us here live by applying for that job. And, for employee number 100, there will be a big surprise, I guess.
So 95 people, so meaning 95% are much younger than 40 years. So fresh from university.
A lot of people are fresh from university. Like my newest employee, he's also fresh from university. He's just in the process of acquiring his PhD. So he needs to take the final step and then he has it. It's so especially at TWAICE, because it has a lot to do with analytical thinking, and we have a lot of people with an academic background, because that's super important for this topic. It's not only about software, but it's really about batteries and the technology behind that, and the chemistry and the physics. So it's super, super important. But if you look at how TWAICE was founded, for example, our 2 founders, they are also in their 30s, and they founded the company as a spin-off from the Technical University of Munich, where TWAICE was actually their PhD theme, right? So they built it right from there. They knew a lot of people that were in the same faculty and studying the same stuff. So this is why we have so many young people. And what I see is that this brings a really, really good traction into the company, and it's so super different. And I think right now we're trying to get more senior people into the business, because we really need that mix. And what I personally have seen is that this mix of what can those Generation Z people learn from me as a Generation X person is the one thing. Of course, I can coach a lot of people because of my experience. I can mentor them. But on the other hand, I'm learning so many new things from day to day from them and how they see the world, which is super important for me, and which also changes my views on a couple of things, especially also how you do business with that age group, because we are also seeing that age group in customers now. And that's why I think this age diversity is super important.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
I guess
you
we're coming to an end, Jacalyn.
Yeah, so we are coming to the end. I do have a question, though. It's a basic question, but with your software background, I just have to put it out there so I can wrap my brain around it. So with an iPhone, for example, and not a paid spokesperson, just I have one, and you get these software upgrades, right, that have to happen periodically. And sometimes you'll see in what the upgrade features, it affects the battery. Right. So I'm just wondering, each time a new phone comes out and they hold focus groups or they do surveys and ask people, well, what features would you like to see? Is it possible to take a battery that's in a phone today and give it features that it doesn't currently have, so you don't ever have to get a new phone? I mean, I know from a retail capitalistic perspective, that's not going to happen, but is it possible?
So the thing with lithium-ion batteries is every battery has an end of life. It's as easy as that. So it will happen at one point, but what you can definitely do, and this is, as an example, this is one thing that we are implementing together with EV companies. Of course, you can build features that help you save battery life in terms of really state of health of the battery. We can just do that by informing people of what to do and what not to do, like how to treat your device or your car or whatever it is. Just give them this advice, and it will change the perception of people, and they will change things with regards to the battery life. And in addition to that, you're absolutely right. The software that controls the battery, you can always optimize that in a ways that the battery can stay for longer in the device you are operating.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It has been an absolute pleasure. This has been so informative, and the fact that flying cars or prototypes are out there and could be here in 3 to 7 years, and they're driving 400 and some kilometers. I'm learning all kinds of things. Thank you so much, Marc.
You're welcome, and thanks for inviting me to your show.
Absolutely. Let's put up
Thank you,
the job. Oh, we have the job description here again. Mark, just if you can hit it really high level for people just joining us, what is the job opportunity?
So the job opportunity is to support our sales team in U.S. East Coast, which is Chicago eastwards. It's a remote working job, and the one prerequisite is you got to have some battery knowledge acquired as an engineer, for example, that worked with batteries. And I would be super happy if you could just apply through our website on TWAICE.com.
Thank you very much. Somebody out there, that job is for you. This is a great organization. You get to work with Mark. How exciting is that? Love your
And
energy.
you might be employee number 100. Don't forget about that, right? So
that's fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Roland, anything else you want to share with Mark?
No. Mark, thank you so much for your time, because I know that you're very, very busy, because you're so excited what you're doing. I know it's hard to get in the phone, so I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
And by the way, for anybody who missed the beginning of the show, or Mark, for your network, you can watch our show one of two ways. You can go over to our YouTube channel, which is, guess what, USA Global TV, and you can go to the playlist, the Mallorca Connection, and it will be there. Or you can go to our website, which is USA Global TV, and you can look for the show, the Mallorca Connection, watch here. Two easy ways for people to watch the show.
Thank you. Mark,
right.
wish you an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye,
Have
Mark.
a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. That was fantastic, Roland. I really learned a lot.
To be honest, me too. Absolutely. Yeah, it was really, especially how we can treat batteries. And it's also interesting. I didn't know that they have a chance for a second life. This is really cool.
I didn't know that either. And I think we take batteries for granted sometimes, and they're so important.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely depend on them more and more and more, whatever device we're using. Absolutely. No, it was
By the
really
way, I
cool
knew
interview.
you were a really good interview. I knew you were a fast driver. I just had that feeling in my bones. I could see you out there driving.
Yes, it was always fun. Sometimes risky, but always fun.
Roland, I'm going to spotlight you, and if you can share with our audience how people can reach you and who you'd like to reach out to you.
Yeah, how to reach me? The easiest way is to go on our website. It's my name, rolandfriedl.com. I will spell it for you, especially for the people who are on the podcast. It's ROLANDFRIEDL.com. Go on my website, so you see my services, and there's a contact formula. I'm very happy to help you out, whether you're a leader in an organization, you need support there, or you're a person that needs coaching, needs support. Maybe you have to make a decision, you go to the left or to go to the right. I don't mean it politically. So you're standing on a cross and you don't know where to go when you need support. Or even for men, this is just for men. We also run a men's group, so we support men in sharing all their stuff that's within, that are used to share with other people in a safe environment. So we're very happy. Just go on the website, rolandfriedl.com. I'm looking forward to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for our audience, Roland is a co-host here at USA Global TV. He's also one of our experts, which means he's a talking head, and he has his own show that is coming up in the mid to end February, where he'll be presenting important lessons. And he's also an elevated listener, which means that he has taken the time, energy, effort to invest in how to be an authentic listener. Roland is an outstanding strategist and coach. I go to him all the time asking him questions about things. So I really hope that you do reach out to him, because he knows what he's doing, and he will be an enhancement to you and your business, your life, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again soon, Roland.
Yes, I'm looking forward for the next show. I really love it, and thank you so much for the work you're doing. I know you're really busy. You really go for it, and it's just an amazing job you're doing, Dr. Jacalyn, to give this opportunity for me and many, many other experts to share their experience and the skill to the world who need it. Thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you after the show.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I just want to thank everyone. It means so much. You have no idea. As Roland alluded to, I do work 7 days a week. I don't take time off except to work out and eat. And I just love what I'm doing. And I really appreciate all of you who follow us. I know most of the people who watch are watching after the live, and that's great. Just go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. We stream live to 11 different platforms, and then we become a podcast on 6 others. But I'm trying to move everybody over to one place, which is the YouTube channel. So if you can go and subscribe there, I'd really appreciate it. We've got a great week of shows continuing starting tomorrow. And if you're interested in being a guest on one of our shows, we have about 20 different shows a week. So you can go over to our website, USA Global TV, and you can just click book your session, and then we would love to have you. We'll be signing off today with one of our sponsors, Diane Floyd-Boehm, and her latest accomplishment, A Song of Peace. Thanks again, Roland. Thank you, Mark. We'll see you again soon.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diane Floyd-Boehm's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at dianefloydboehm.com.